In Los Angeles this weekend, a surprising move stirred up a storm of debate, and it all centers around former Vice President Kamala Harris. On Saturday morning, the Los Angeles Police Department officially discontinued its temporary role in guarding Harris's Brentwood residence. The announcement followed days of criticism, tension, and heated discussions both inside the LAPD and across the political spectrum. But why was the LAPD protecting Harris in the first place? To understand this story, we need to rewind just a few days. After leaving the White House, former vice presidents traditionally receive Secret Service protection for 6 months. In Harris's case, President Biden extended that protection until 2026, recognizing her continued high profile and the unique security risks she faces. But last week, in a dramatic reversal, President Trump revoked that extension, cutting off her federal detail earlier than expected. This decision set off a chain reaction. With federal agents suddenly gone, California law enforcement agencies were forced to fill the gap. The California Highway Patrol took the lead. But Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass also directed the LAPD to temporarily assign officers from its Metropolitan Division to Harris AS security team. By midweek, residents of Brentwood were seeing a familiar sight. LAPD vehicles and uniformed officers stationed outside Harris AS home. Helicopter footage from Fox 11 confirmed the presence of a police detail, and almost instantly the controversy began. Inside the LAPD itself, many officers were frustrated. The Metropolitan Division is one of the department's most important crime suppression units. Its officers are tasked with tackling violent crime and high-risk situations across Los Angeles. Pulling them away from that mission, even for a high-profile protection detail, meant fewer boots on the ground in neighborhoods that already struggle with crime. The police union voiced these frustrations openly. In a sharply worded statement, the Los Angeles Police Protective League said that taxpayers should not be footing the bill for a former official who, in their words, has the means to arrange private protection. They framed it as an issue of fairness. Why should everyday residents lose critical police coverage while resources are diverted to guard one of the wealthiest public figures in the city? But city leaders saw things differently. Mayor Bass defended the decision as necessary, though temporary. She argued that leaving a former vice president without any protection at all would be irresponsible and dangerous. Her office emphasized that the LAPD's involvement was never meant to be permanent. It was simply a bridge until the CHP and Harris ES private arrangements could take over. This back and forth between law enforcement and city leadership highlights a deeper issue: the politics of protection. Decisions about security are rarely just about logistics. They carry heavy political weight. When President Trump revoked Harris's Secret Service detail, critics accused him of playing politics with safety. Mayor Bass described it as an act of retaliation, pointing out that Harris has long been one of Trump's fiercest political rivals. The governor's office echoed that sentiment, saying that the safety of public officials should never depend on erratic political impulses. On the other hand, Trump supporters argued that the move was justified. They pointed out that Harris is no longer in office and questioned why she should receive extended taxpayer-funded protection years beyond the usual 6-month window. In their view, Biden's extension was an unnecessary favor. So, what does history tell us? This isn't the first time Harris has been the focus of unusual security arrangements. Back in 2017, while serving as a U.S. Senator, she received LAPD protection based on a threat assessment. That detail lasted for more than a year before being withdrawn in 2018. The decision back then stirred its own controversy, with critics questioning the cost and necessity of assigning local officers to a federal lawmaker. Now, in 2025, the same questions are resurfacing, only this time the stakes feel higher. Harris is not just a former senator. She is a former vice president, the first black woman to hold that role, and a politician who has faced an unusually high level of threats throughout her career. Let's also not forget what's coming up for Harris. Next month, she is set to begin a major international book tour for her memoir, 107 Days. The book reflects on the short but turbulent length of her presidential campaign. With 15 scheduled stops, including appearances in London and Toronto, her public exposure is about to increase dramatically. Normally, the Secret Service would coordinate such complex travel arrangements. Without them, Harris's team will need to rely on local agencies and private security firms in each city. This raises tough questions. Who should be responsible for ensuring her safety? Should states and cities be required to step in when federal coverage is withdrawn? Or should Harris's team, with access to donor networks and resources, be left to handle it privately? Critics argue that the LAPD, already stretched thin, should not be pulled into this national debate. Violent crime, homelessness, and public safety challenges dominate Los Angeles. Every officer assigned to a security detail is one less officer available to patrol neighborhoods, respond to emergencies, or investigate crimes. In their view, the city cannot afford to prioritize one individual, no matter how high profile. Supporters counter with a different perspective. They argue that Harris's security is not just about protecting one person. It's about safeguarding democratic institutions and respecting the precedent that former leaders deserve a certain level of protection. Failing to provide that, they warn, could set a dangerous example for future leaders. Governor Gavin Newsom's office stressed this very point, stating clearly, "The safety of our public officials must be handled responsibly, free from political influence." That statement suggests that state leaders may be looking for a more permanent solution, possibly involving state-level funding or coordination for high-profile figures. Meanwhile, residents of Los Angeles are watching closely. Some see the use of local resources for Harris's protection as a betrayal, a sign that political elites receive privileges denied to ordinary citizens. Others see it as common sense, recognizing that Harris, given her history and visibility, faces real risks that cannot be ignored. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. The debate is not just about Kamala Harris. It is about how America balances fairness, safety, and politics when it comes to protecting former leaders. As the LAPD steps back, all eyes now turn to the California Highway Patrol and Harris's private team. How they manage the situation could set a precedent for years to come. And as Harris embarks on her book tour, traveling through crowded venues, airports, and international stages, the stakes will only grow higher. Will her security be adequate? Will local agencies continue to step in? Or will this remain a political football, tossed back and forth between state and federal authorities? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, this story isn't over. Harris's security, and the debate surrounding it, will continue to be a flashpoint in the months ahead. So we leave you with this question. Should protection for former vice presidents be a guaranteed right, regardless of political shifts? Or should it end after the traditional 6-month window, leaving individuals to make their own arrangements? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'll be watching to see where the public stands on this issue. And that wraps up today's story. Kamala Harris's security detail may seem like a small issue, but it touches on something much bigger, the balance between safety, politics, and public resources. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What do you think? Should local taxpayers be footing the bill for former officials' protection? Or should it always be handled privately once they leave office? Share your thoughts in the comments. We read every one of them. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay updated on the latest political developments, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps more people discover the channel. If you find this video helpful, like, subscribe, and tell us your city and thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.